When my neighbor, Delilah Thornburg, destroyed my mailbox for the 7th time in 2 months, I knew it wasn't bad luck anymore. It was war. What she didn't know was that I was about to build her the mailbox of her nightmares. 6 a.m. The world still smelled like wet asphalt and diesel fumes. I stumbled outside in yesterday's clothes, coffee in hand, only to stop dead in my driveway, where my grandfather's handcrafted oak mailbox once stood. There was nothing, just splintered wood scattered like confetti after a tornado. My mug slipped, ceramic shattered, hot coffee burned my ankles, but the real heat was rising in my chest, because there she was, Delilah, backing out of her driveway in that spotless white SUV. Chrome bumper newly dented, paint scraped, her eyes hidden behind designer sunglasses. She didn't even look my way, just reversed, shifted to drive, and rolled off like nothing happened. The taste of rage? It's metallic, bitter, like licking a battery. That's when I realized she wasn't playing homeowner. She was playing demolition derby. Fine. If it was a fight she wanted, she'd picked the wrong veteran to provoke. Maybe I should back up. My name's Marcus Hendricks, 52, retired Navy Seabee. I spent 2 decades building airstrips under enemy fire and bridges in flood zones. Thought civilian life would be easy after that. I bought this modest ranch house in Willowbrook subdivision, 3 bedrooms, a patch of sunlight, and a garage big enough for my tools. My fresh start after divorce. The real estate agent promised quiet, community living. What she forgot to mention was the Homeowners Association and its queen, Delilah Thornburg. Delilah was the self-appointed guardian of suburban perfection. Picture platinum hair, immaculate athleisure outfits, and a white Escalade that gleamed like a trophy. HOA treasurer for 6 years straight, unopposed. And the kind of woman who said standards like she was talking about bloodlines. The first time we met, I was installing my grandfather's mailbox design. Solid oak, carved roof, hand-stained, built to outlast storms and time. I still remember the smell, cedar, linseed oil, and memory. She appeared behind me like a judgmental ghost. "Excuse me," she said, voice smooth as honey over broken glass. "That mailbox is not in compliance." I smiled politely. "Ma'am, I read the bylaws twice. Height, material setback. It's all within regulation." Her lips twitched. "Perhaps you misunderstood the aesthetic guidelines. We maintain certain standards here." I showed her the screenshots on my phone. Every rule checked. She didn't like that. Her smile froze. "We'll see about that." And she left, heels clicking like a countdown. 3 days later, my mailbox was kindling. I filed a report. Officer Martinez came by, decent guy, but when he heard it was an HOA issue, his expression said, "Good luck, buddy." A week later, I got a letter on thick, gold-embossed paper. Notice of violation, disruption of community harmony. They wanted $500 a day in fines if I didn't remove my non-conforming structure. But here's the thing about bullies who hide behind paperwork. They usually depend on you not reading the fine print. So I did. At the courthouse, under flickering fluorescent lights, I found the original 1987 Willowbrook Charter. Turns out, Delilah had been enforcing rules that never officially passed. Half her standards weren't even legal. I smiled for the first time in weeks, because I knew then this wasn't just about mailboxes. This was about power. That's when Ruth showed up, 78 years old, retired paralegal, sharp as a tack. She knocked on my door with a folder thick enough to stop a bullet. "Thought you might need backup," she said, sliding into my kitchen chair like she owned it. Inside that folder, years of notes, photos, recordings. She'd been documenting Delilah's abuses for half a decade. 3 families in 5 years, harassed until they sold their homes cheap. And who listed those houses afterward? Prestige Realty, Delilah's firm. The pieces clicked together. This wasn't personal vendetta. It was organized real estate manipulation. She drove people out, bought low, flipped high. That metallic taste came back. But this time it wasn't fear. It was focus. I built mailbox number 2, even stronger, oak reinforced with steel brackets. Hidden camera inside the roof peak, live feed to cloud storage. It lasted 4 days. 3 a.m. motion alert. A dark SUV creeping up, lights off. A figure stepped out, same height, same build as Delilah. Swung a bat like she was conducting an orchestra of destruction. Every swing caught in infrared. The dent in her quarter panel? Perfect match. She'd just signed her confession digitally. The next morning, a petition was taped to my door. Community concern over disruptive resident. 12 signatures. Half of them looked forged. Then the city started calling. Code enforcement. Noise complaints. Business violations. Someone had filed half a dozen reports under my name. By Thursday, my property felt like a war zone. Inspectors crawling over everything while Delilah waved sweetly from her driveway. That's when I turned to Jorge Santos, neighbor, IT guy, and father of 2 kids who loved my swing set. His Ring cameras covered half the street. Together, we pulled the footage. There she was, Delilah, clipboard in hand, going door to door, whispering poison. "She's telling people you're dangerous," Jorge said, "that you're running an illegal business." But what she didn't know, Jorge's home security backed up everything to the cloud. Every lie she told was now evidence. Friday night, Jorge and I watched her host a neighborhood safety meeting through the community center windows. Her PowerPoint presentation looked straight out of a propaganda film. Photos of my yard, my truck, my mailbox, all labeled community risks. Her voice carried through the open window. "We must act before property values collapse. For our children, for our retirement." But Jorge froze the footage and zoomed in on her slides. "Those numbers are fake," he said. "She's manipulating sales data." We now had proof. Forged financial charts, fabricated violations, and security footage tying her to vandalism. The stage was set. Tuesday, 7 p.m. emergency HOA meeting. The parking lot overflowed. Neighbors whispering, eyes full of curiosity and judgment. Inside, folding chairs faced a projector screen that already had my house plastered across it. Delilah stood at the podium, glowing like a politician before re-election. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "we face a serious threat to our community." Click. Photos of my property. Red arrows. Fake graphs. "Mr. Hendricks's conduct endangers our neighborhood integrity and our property values." The crowd murmured. The whispers felt like physical blows. And then Ruth stood up. "Point of order," she said, voice sharp enough to slice steel. "I'd like to review the data behind your claims." Delilah blinked. "Mrs. Kowalski, this is not." But Ruth was already striding forward, slamming printed MLS records on the table. "According to county records, our property values have increased 12% in 3 years. You, madam, are spreading false information." The crowd stirred. Doubt rippled like electricity. Delilah tried to laugh it off, but Jorge stood next. "3 homes under Prestige Realty," he said, holding up screenshots. "All bought below market value. All from families harassed by sudden violations." Now faces were turning. Not toward me, but toward her. I rose slowly, calm as a storm's eye. "And for the record," I said, sliding my folder open, "here's footage from last Sunday at 3 a.m. The projector lit up with infrared video. Delilah's SUV, baseball bat, splintered mailbox. You could have heard a pin drop. Her voice cracked. "That could be anyone, except for the matching dent," I said quietly. "Same car, same damage." Ruth folded her arms. "Motion to remove Delilah Thornburg as HOA treasurer, pending investigation." The vote was unanimous. By the next morning, her Escalade was gone. For sale sign in her lawn. A week later, I rebuilt my grandfather's mailbox one last time. This time out of reinforced oak, sealed in resin, mounted in concrete. Neighbors came by to help. Even Ms. Patterson brought lemonade. When the sun hit that mailbox just right, you could see the reflection of a whole neighborhood finally breathing again. And as I tightened the last bolt, I thought of my grandfather's words, "Build it right, and they can't tear it down." Guess he was right.